Welcome to Spirits Are Talking, hosted by Lisa Silverman. Join us every Tuesday night for live on-air psychic medium readings, crystal energy healings, oracle card readings, chakra balancing, and so much more. Host Lisa Silverman is a natural-born intuitive, psychic, medium, and spiritual life coach, working professionally in the metaphysical healing arts since 2015. Lisa communicates with loved ones and pets that have passed on for emotional healing and answers. Not to mention, she is an established interior designer since 2009, focusing on Feng Shui, modern design, and house healings by creating a harmonious energy flow for her clients. Now, your host of Spirits Are Talking, Lisa Silverman.
Hi. Wow. Welcome to my debut podcast, Spirits Are Talking. I'm so grateful that you're with me. You could be anywhere in the world and you're with me tonight, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Some of you know me very well. Some of you don't know me at all, but I'm Lisa Silverman. I am a psychic medium and an intuitive and an interior designer. And we will be doing, as the show progresses, online live readings. We'll be channeling loved ones and so much more. I have a few notes, so I'm just going to read. Excuse my throat. I have a cold, and I won't always sound this congested, but I do have a cold. So I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit further. And how did this come to be, and why am I out, and what happened, and how did this even happen that I'm a medium in later in life? So I just want to thank you all so much for being here. Like I said, you could be anywhere in the world, and you chose to be with me. So thank you so much. Spirits Are Talking is going to discuss everything metaphysical, spiritual, interior design. I'm an interior designer. I've been an established interior designer for about 18 or 19 years. We're going to talk about out-of-body experiences. We're going to talk about chakras and balancing and oracle cards. We're going to talk about past life regressions, everything about love, how our love never dies. Even though our loved ones cross over, they are still always with us. We're going to talk about everything woo-woo, pretty much. So I'll start with what happened to me. This show is all about me and introducing myself. I was raised in a very Reformed Jewish family, and I had a very progressive mother who was very woo-woo and spiritual and taught me a lot about my spiritual sense of self, and knowing that my intuition was the most important tool that I had for me. So that's the biggest gift she gave me. I had an amazing father who I absolutely adored, who made my life so happy. I lost both of my parents about 25 and 23 years ago in my 30s, which was kind of a shock because I was so young. But when I was 8 years old, I remember my great grandmother passed away, which was my mom's grandmother, and I absolutely adored her so much. She was somebody that was just so special. And on the same weekend that she passed, my grandfather passed, which was my dad's father. And it was kind of like a wow to our family. So my dad's father had a huge service, and there wasn't anything, excuse me, I'm going to drink tea. There wasn't anything really for my great-grandmother, Mama Sophie's service. So I never had closure with her, but I always was connected to her. When I was 8 years old, I remember feeling this swoosh, a big S that came into my soul, in between my soul, my chest, and my back. And it was an S for Sophie. And I could remember hearing her telling me that she loved me and everything like that for years and years and years, for all of my life, until I had my daughter. Then that swoosh stopped, and I'll get back to that later. But with the connection that I felt with my great grandmother, I could also feel with animals And I was always told I was very sensitive, extremely sensitive. And I could size up a room. I could feel the energy before walking in. And I thought everyone felt that or had that in them. But I guess, obviously it wasn't so. I'm also dyslexic. So there's a gift of dyslexia. We think out of the box. We're creative. And so that made me even more sensitive as well. But as far as communicating with loved ones, like I said, I was able to see, feel, and hear my loved ones. And as I got older, it became more prominent. It started with my girlfriend, my late girlfriend, Diane, who was my best friend since kindergarten, who passed right before 9/11. And she told me, whenever you see a dragonfly, you'll know it's me. And I have dragonflies in my intro. And here, I always hear her voice. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think of her and hear her. So she came to me like a few months after she passed, and I gave messages to her husband. And then it just, so many things have happened. So what's my why of why I'm here is to let you know that loved ones are always around us. And I remember being a little girl and looking at the ocean and thinking there's so much underneath the ocean that we don't really know. It's like in the invisible world, there's so much in the invisible that we don't know, that we're not tapped into, but there's so much to tap into. So let me fast forward a little bit. When after my mom passed away, my best girlfriend from childhood, from birth, actually, her mom and my mom shared a room. I went to her wedding, and unfortunately, my dad was not able to go. And so I went to her wedding in Palm Springs, and my mom had a very fancy Cadillac. There was only 3 of them in the country. And so when we got to the hotel, the first car parked in the VIP was my mom's identical Cadillac. And it was only 6 weeks after she had passed. And I said, okay, this is interesting. Of course, my mom was there the whole time. Had she been alive, she would never have missed that wedding for anything in the world. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. So that's when I had a humongous encounter with my mom. And she told me a lot of things that were so beautiful and so poignant. Thank you, Selena. I will be giving away a 30-minute session. My producer will pick the person randomly out of the list. So, and that'll be announced at the end of the show. And you'll get an email regarding when we can set up a time. Thanks, Selena, for being my monitor. Anyway, so that's when I first really heard my mom. Not the very, very first time, and that was very significant. But I'm going to get back to the feeling of that swoosh that I was saying when I would feel it from my great-grandmother when I was 8. And I felt it all the way until I was in my 30s. Then I had a beautiful daughter. And my baby was 6 weeks old, and my parents were over. And my mom said, let's go look at the baby. And I said, of course. So we go look at the baby. And we'll say, oh, she looks just like Mama Sophie. And my mom, thank goodness, was able to witness that, because that S swoosh disappeared. And so my mom and I both knew that Selena, my daughter, who's named after Sophie, was reincarnated into my daughter, because that swoosh has never been felt again. Fast forward, my mom passes away, unfortunately, pretty unexpected. She had 6 weeks to live, and my baby was only 16 months old. And it was such a heartbreaking shocker for me. And hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. So Selena, who was an absolutely gorgeous baby, my mom had 16 months with her. And I remember we went to like a psychic fair, and Selena was able to sit up in her stroller, and everyone stopped us. Wow, she's so beautiful. Wow, she's such an old soul. Wow, wow, wow. And so it was more validation that it was definitely my late great-grandmother. But when Selena was 2, I'm talking about a lot of topics, but this is just an overall, and then we'll narrow it down as each show comes together. But when Selena was not quite 2, and she was strolling around our kitchen with her baby in her stroller, and she stops, she's strolling, and then she stops and she says, Mama? And I said, yes. And she said, when you were a little baby, I used to push you just like this. And I was like, wow. And my great grandmother lived in San Francisco with all the hills. And she said, we'd go up the hills and down the hills. And then that kept happening for about four months. She would have recall of when I was a little girl, which is very interesting. Excuse me, I have to drink my tea because I have a cold. And hi, thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I know you could be anywhere in the world and you're here with me. So when Selena started saying, Mama, when you were little, you didn't eat trees, you didn't like tomatoes, you didn't like this, it was very evident that she was back in my life. And of course, I'm so blessed to have her as my daughter regardless. But that's what happens with reincarnation. So the other thing about me is that my dad used to call me Dr. Doodle because I could always see, feel the energy of animals and talk to animals. So, excuse me for the sniffles, I have a cold. And so my sensitivity used to be a hindrance, but now it's very much a gift that I want to share to the world. We all have had loss. We've all loved and lost. We've all had, you never go through life without grieving. Okay. But what's my why? My why is to let you know that love never dies. It just changes form. And it's sometimes hard, so hard in the moments to realize that our loved ones really are connected to us. So with those experiences with my friends, I lost a good friend when I was 21 named Tommy. He never came to me until I was like 39. And he finally came and said, I'm so sorry I died so young. I really, let's see. I have to look. Thank you. I'm looking at the comments and I'm listening to my producer. So, and this is my first time, even though I go on TikTok and stuff, this is my first time and I'm not nervous. I'm really excited. So anyway, what happened to me, what got me, and my family's always known. My mom used to say, you have really healing hands. My mom had very bad arthritis. She'd say, you have really healing hands. You're definitely an old soul. You're this and that. And so what happened is a lot of things happened. I had a dog growing up that I would dress up and my dad would say, I'd never want to be your dog. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm so grateful you're here. You could be anywhere in the world and you're with me. Oh, thank you so much. So anyway, I'm going to just fast forward to how I got kicked out of the spiritual closet because it's not an easy journey. Being on a spiritual path is not for the faint of hearts, that's for sure. It's a self-awareness. It's an awakening. It's something you're called to and not applied for. Okay. It's not like I filled out an application. Yeah, I want to be a psychic medium. I want to talk to people that have passed over. I want to talk to dead people, animals, and I want to read energy in rooms and stuff. No, that's not how it works. But as I kept growing as a person and I had to leave a marriage that I outgrew and I had to leave friendships that I outgrew, it was for a reason. And I didn't know at the time exactly what the reason was, but I knew that I had to keep growing. So this particular day and how I got literally kicked out of the spiritual closet was I was at the mall. My cell phone broke and I wanted to get my cell phone fixed. I never go to the mall for my Apple store. I always go to a store on a street. For some reason, I'm divinely guided to go to this Apple store at the mall. So I think, okay, whatever, I'm at the mall. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning and I walk in and thank you so much, everybody. I love you so much. I so appreciate this. So I walk into the mall and there's no one in the mall and I hear, hey, and I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, this male voice, very strong, very forceful, very sure of himself, says, hey, you. And I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, this is funny. Nobody's here. And he's like, yeah, I'm talking to you. And I'm like, okay, this is hilarious. Where's the Canon camera? I can't even deal. And so he goes, Lisa, and he calls my name and I'm like, okay, this is really funny. He goes, stop. So I'm literally frozen before the Apple store. And he says to me, I know you're going to the Apple store. I need you to talk to my daughter. And I'm like, what? Are you crazy? What is going on? And because, like I said, I could only see, feel, and hear my loved ones, people that I knew and that were important to me in my life. So this guy's voice is so random. And I'm like, how can this even be happening? So he says, I passed about 2 years ago. I really need you to speak to my daughter. I know your phone's broken. You got this. You're a medium, anytime, any place, anywhere. And I just stood there frozen, listening, knowing I'm not schizophrenic, knowing that this is really out of my body, coming through me, through thought, feeling, and emotion. And so he said, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go to the Apple store. You're going to go to the Genius Bar. She's going to come to you. You'll know it's her. I'll definitely get you the right person. And then when she comes to you, you're going to say what I tell you. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so he said, no. So I just asked my guides, because I've always worked with guides. Like I said, with my mom, I was raised very, very progressive. I knew about UFOs, meditating, and everything in my teen years. So I was very exposed. But this was just like mind blowing. So I follow his lead. He tells me he died about 2 years prior, and that he'll connect me to his daughter. So this adorable girl comes over to me. How can I help you? I'm like, my phone's broken. I'm not in a great mood. I mean, my phone's broken. And she's like, no problem. And he says to me, when she mentions loss, that's when you jump in. So I said, okay. I'm like, this is just crazy. So I listen, and she starts talking. And I said, my phone, this and that. She said, yeah, there's been a lot of loss. She's like, no. So I said, okay. I'm like, by any chance, did your father pass away about 2 years ago? And she said, yeah. And he said, you tell her. I'm like, you tell her what? It's all through thought. So it's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I said, tell her what? He goes, you tell her right now that you're a medium and you got this, anytime, any place, anywhere. And I started to cry, and I might cry now because he pushed me out to own it. He said, you got this, anytime, any place, anywhere. So I said, because I'm a medium and your father's here and would like to speak to you, would that be okay with you? And she was like, what? And I was like, what is happening? So sure enough, he tells me he died 2 years ago. He wanted to apologize for the divorce. He said that he died 2 weeks after his mother died. Thank goodness, because it would have been horrible for his mother. Would that make sense? She said, yes. Excuse me. And then he said, my name's Joe. I have a son, Joey the third, and my dad's Joseph. Can you please tell her that? I said, your dad's telling me his name's Joe. He has a son, Joey the third, and your grandpa's Joseph. Does that make sense? She said, yeah. So then it was just, that's how I got pushed out. He's actually right here with me right now. He just came in. He is a guide of mine that has been in a body that I didn't know, that I'm so grateful for. Thank you for being here. Actually, I won't talk to myself. He's literally right here. So what happened is he shows me, I'm like, well, where is this guy from? Because he had all the swag and all the stuff. Then he shows me the New York skyline. I'm like, oh, he's a New Yorker. Then he shows me Little Italy. I'm like, oh my God, he's Italian. And she's like, yes, all this validation. Then he shows me pennies. And I said, he's telling me that you find pennies all over. Would that make sense? The most random spots, in your slippers, on the floor, everywhere. That's just bizarre. And he said, yes. She said, yes. And then he starts singing pennies from heaven. And so I start singing to her, poor thing. I sing pennies from heaven. And she starts crying her eyes out. That's what he sang to me all the time when she was a little girl. So he also told me she was going to have a baby, a girl. And she said, I don't think so. Well, 9 months later, literally 3 days before she was due, she came and had a private session with me. And that's how I got kicked out of the spiritual closet. And I owe it all to Joe. And so since I've worked with Joe, I've studied with world-renowned mediums. I've taken many workshops and trips to learn my skills, my gifts, how I tap in. Excuse me. There's so many ways to connect. And Joe is literally right here. And he was this Italian, handsome, swagged out, darling dude who I'm so grateful for. Thank you all so much for joining me. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. So that's what happened with how I say I got kicked out of the spiritual closet, and I owe it all to Joe. But my family and friends that are on here that have known me my entire life know that I've always been woo-woo. I have lifelong friends that always knew that I could, like, I don't know. I just thought it was normal, whatever I could do. It's just interesting. So as after Joe, I did 250 readings and free to make sure that this is what I do. This is real. And since then, I've channeled about 1,000 souls or more and have been able to deliver beautiful messages. I'm a very evidential medium, meaning that the things that I say are very factual from the other side. And how I get messages is through hearing. So I'm audio. I'm the clairs. There's a lot of clairs. There's the clair audio, sentio, cognosing. I don't know. My head's kind of stuffy, but whatever all the clairs are, and I am. And the worst for me is to feel the physical. So when I'm channeling loved ones, I can also feel their elements too. And that's kind of an interesting thing. But what's my why? It's like I didn't go seeking this. It seeks you. So if you're on a spiritual path and you have these gifts, which we all have these gifts, we can all develop them at different rates. You can go to classes, you can be trained, or you can be like me and just kind of explode by some guy, even though I kept building up to the fact that I am this way. And my why is to heal hearts. There's so much information with loved ones on the other side that we're not cognitive of in our everyday life. And sometimes we have to really get out of our head and get into our heart. And that's where the love is. So, Joe is the reason why I got out of the spiritual closet. And once you're out, there's no going back. So this is what I do. This is my passion. And some of the services that I do oracle card readings. I do chakra balancing, which is incredible energy balancing with all your chakras. And we'll do some on further shows. We'll do some meditations, which I love doing. We'll do some chakra balancing, and I use my pendulum. Let me show you my pendulum. We're going to take a break in about 3 minutes or so. Let me see what 10 minutes to station break. Okay. So thank you. I'm just learning the ropes here. So we got a couple minutes till station break. So you can go grab a tea or whatever. But let me show you my pendulum. If you don't know what a pendulum is, this is what mine is. This is a divination system that allows me to show you the answers. Can you see the bottom? So can I get a yes that you can see the whole thing? Anybody? Joe's smiling. Yeah. Joe is a badass Italian dude who had swag, and it's funny. Okay. So here's my pendulum. So I've been using one of these since I was a little girl, thank you so much. And not really knowing why or how. Okay. I had a peace sign that I loved on a chain. And I remember using this peace sign. So this is my pendulum. And so I'm not moving it. There's skeptics. They'll say, oh, you're moving it. I don't move it. Okay. I'm not a cheater. I don't move it. So this is what happens. So I hold it and I hold energy under my hand and I ask it. Mine has a lot of energy. So about a week and a half ago, one of my sessions, it flew out of my hand and broke all over the floor. So show me which way is yes. It's going to go this way. Show me which way is no. It's going to go this way. Show me which way is maybe. It's going to change directions and go in a circle. Can you see it going in a circle? And then show me which way is I don't care. Don't give a shit. Don't want to know. It goes in the opposite circle. And sorry, I have Princess Pirate Potty Mouth Goddess, and it's just who I be. My daddy raised me right. So this is how my pendulum works. So I could say in so many different ways, like, let me just ask it a silly question. Okay, am I wearing a black, am I wearing a blue top? Am I wearing a blue top? Am I wearing a blue top? No, I'm not. Am I wearing a green top? No, I'm not. Am I on a podcast right now? Is this my debut? And do I feel so grateful? Yes, I do. Yes, I am. So in sessions, oh, you came from TikTok. Great. In sessions, I have my TikTok on. I'm on TikTok if you want to follow me on TikTok. In sessions, I often pull this out to show you what I'm hearing, because I'll get a statement like the other day right before I come on. I always get a message, and I get a download as I'm washing my hands of an H. So I hear H, and I think, oh, it's either going to be a husband or his name's H, and it was definitely masculine energy. So when I get on the Zoom, then he tells me my name's Harold, and I start laughing. I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's my dad's name. You're not Harold. And he goes, yeah, I am. So I get on the Zoom. This woman's from Canada. She heard me on another podcast called The Evidence of the Afterlife, where you can hear more about me if you'd like. And so I get on immediately and I say, I have a Harold here. Would that make sense? And she said, yes. Take us out to break. Okay. We're going to go out to break, and I'm going to count down. We're going to go out to a quick break. And I'm going to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you in a
The Body Code is a revolutionary method of energetic healing developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, which allows us to quickly and easily identify specific imbalances that seem to underline chronic ill health, acute and chronic pain and discomfort, dysfunction, and stress. Ellie energetically connects with the subconscious of the client. Psychic medium Ellie Weisensell is a medical intuitive and energy healer, and a certified body code practitioner. She identifies and clears energetic imbalances within the body and energy field. Contact Ellie at the website below, and Ellie can work remotely from a distance, by phone, online, video chat. There's no need to travel to an office. Remember, the Body Code is safe for humans and animals. Contact Ellie today.
Welcome back. That was quick. So, excuse me. Anyway, I started to tell you that this man came through. His name was Harold, and this woman was in Canada. And I said, would that make sense to you? And she said, yeah, that's my husband's stepfather. And so, anyway, what happened was he told me he spoke French fluently, and this wife was kind of jealous that he spoke French fluently. Would that make sense? So she said, yes, yes, yes. So anyway, my point is if you're going to work with a medium, whoever that, whether it's me or someone else, you want to make sure that they're honest and not integral, and that they are not fishing. So when I ask a question like, would this make sense? Did you lose someone with an H? I already have the answer. I'm asking her to validate the answer, the question. Does that make sense to you? So, my daughter has been with me in places where I just get these downloads and hits, and I have to say, hi, Mo. Oh, you're so welcome. I don't know you, but I hope to know you sometime. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate you, Mo. I'd love to meet you. So what's going to happen on Spirits Are Talking is that we're gonna talk about everything we want. It's like, it's my party. We can talk about whatever. But I'm an interior designer. I want to talk about that real quickly. I've been doing interior design for about over 18 years or so. And our houses say so much, And so if we get in an argument or a fight with somebody in our home or a disagreement, we need to clear the energy. And so what happens is we have an argument or some disruption, and then we keep going on, or somebody comes in with stuff, their energy that pollutes the room, and we sit in it because we don't recognize that there's stuff stuck in the space. So in all my design work, I do Feng Shui elements, which is the art of Chinese placement, which is really about having good flow in your home. And also I love color. As you can see, my office is green. I use a lot of green. And I use a lot of sage, and I burn sage, and I put things in the right placement so everything has flow for harmony and balance. We'll get into that. We'll just do one show on do's and don'ts of interior design, where to put crystals in your home, the power crystals, and I do healing crystals. I have one right here that's for your chakras, which will do chakra things. This is a wand. It's the root chakra all the way up to the crown. I love this with this selenite angel on top. And that crystals are so powerful. I got this cold and I had the worst sinuses yesterday. And I went, and I don't know every single crystal meaning of what the modalities of healing are, but I went and looked at the fluorite, and fluorite is super good for your sinuses. So I put it on here, and my third eye, did a meditation, put some amethyst on my chest, and things just totally started opening up. It was like, wow, I'm feeling a lot better. So the power of crystals, power of intentions is really important. We're going to talk about how souls divide. Things are, people think like, because this is like, my glasses, that these are the only, it's tangible, but souls divide and can be in a lot of places at once. So when I open up a sacred space and I'm doing a session, thank you so much, with clients, I invite your guides, guardians, angels, archangels, and ancestors to join my guides, guardians, angels, archangels, and ancestors, and we create a circle that's a sacred space. I only work with the highest, brightest light, and I don't dabble in darkness. In life, we have duality. I mean, let's be real. It's not all unicorns and rainbows like I'd like it to be. There's a lot of shadow sides and stuff that we don't want to look at, and that we need to look at to move through to grow, right? But in my sacred space, there's no room for any darkness to come in at all. If I sense it, they're out immediately. What I do is with the highest form of love and light, with my guides, ancestors. My parents are helping me all the time as well. And it's a really beautiful healing and a safe space to grow and learn. And I have some people that I've mentored, and I'll be having one on in a couple weeks. Brandon Wainwright, who wrote a book called Tyson's Gift. I'm going to do a podcast with him in a couple weeks. And we're going to talk about basically everything woo-woo. And I'm going to have my daughter on, who literally was my great-grandmother. And she's really opening up as well. And talk about what's it like to be with a kind of a psychic mom who can see things or says no. I always raise both of my children with this thought: if it feels yuck, it is. If it feels yucky, it is. If the elevator door opens and you don't like the vibe of the person that's in it, don't walk in. Like, don't be nice. Don't be accommodating for someone else. So about having good boundaries. The main thing that I want people to know is your intuition's always right for you, and that your loved ones are always around you, even if you can't see them. They really are. And you can call on your guides. The other thing is, too, I'm going through a lot. I'm all over the place tonight, but this is my debut show, so I'll trim it down eventually, or not. I don't know. But What I do know for sure is that when we're born with guardian angels, often 2 to 3 to 4, like a pair of lungs. You wouldn't be able to sustain life without lungs, right? And it's the same with guardian angels. We're all given a pair or 2 or 3 that are assigned to us either for this lifetime or many lifetimes. And these are beings that have never been in a body, and they're like a form of light. And when you've like had that experience where you almost got hit by that car, you almost had a catastrophe, and you just know you were saved by something, that's your guardian angel swooping in and literally saving you and helping you out. Okay. Does this make sense? Any questions? All good. I got to put my glasses. All good to share. We're learning too. Yay. Oh, thank you. Interesting. Georgia. Okay. Oh, thank you, Chelsea. I don't know if you all can see the comments or not, but so I want to talk to you about something else that's really pretty mind-blowing and definitely factual, and I will get pictures later. But so I was raised with an amazing dad who was my best friend, my favorite everything, okay? He was my funny man, my cheerleader, and my banker, and my comedian, and my cheerleader, and my confidant, and I just loved him, and he just loved me because I was born. And having unconditional love like that was so I know how lucky I was, okay? And I would thank him in my teens for not screwing me up and for just loving me so well. And so and he was in the beauty business, and he loved women, and he valued women, and he told me I could be anything I wanted, and he recognized my sensitivity and everything. So I had a dog. I'm just going to share this story. I had a dog growing up named Silver that I would put clothes on, and my dad would come home from work and say, for God's sakes, take that crap off the dog. He doesn't like that. I wouldn't want to be your dog, and oh, leave him alone, for God's sakes, babe, he's sleeping. I'm like, he likes it. I'm kissing him when he's sleeping and everything. And I would say, oh, for God's sake, stop, leave the dog alone. I'd never want to be your dog. I'd never want to be your dog. Well, guess what? When my daughter was 6 years old, she falls in love with this type of a dog. I go to the mall, see the dog in the window. I say, which one of these dogs is sweet? And they're a Bichon. And the woman at the pet store says, oh, this one. So I see this dog, a male, and he's so darling. And I surprise my daughter. I have to ask my husband. He comes to the pet store. The dog goes nuts over my husband, which was very interesting because he was not a dog lover. I'm not married anymore, but it's my kid's father I'm talking about. Excuse me. So the dog goes crazy. And so my ex says, yeah, we'll bring him home. We surprise our daughter. Well, the first night we brought the dog home, we didn't have a name for him, but he had a crate, and he was in a crate, and he was only like 10 weeks old. He's so cute, a Bichon. And so he was in the crate in the family room. And the next morning I go downstairs. I'm the first one up. Can't wait to let the dog out of the crate because I locked him in there. And I go in the family room, and there he is sitting on the sofa that he couldn't even jump on because he was too little, right in the center seat of the sofa. And it was as if both my parents were on either side of this dog. And I'm looking at him. He's just sitting there waiting for me. We're like, I said, how did you get out of here? He's just sitting there. So we didn't have a name. Selena didn't have a name. So my son said, I thought, what about like Houdini? Excuse me, or, Magic Man or something crazy. And so Ashton says, how about Buster? Because he busted out of the crate. And I'm like, perfect. We all like the name Buster. Totally fit him. So about my dad, and let me get back to my dad. My dad had the best hugs, the biggest hands of warmth and love, nothing weird. My friends had shitty dads, and my dad was all my friends' dads, surrogate dads, all of their dads. So when my dad would hug you like a bear hug, he'd moan, ugh. And he was a great jokes teller, and he had a lot of swag, and he had a lot of winks and he was cool. He was badass. So anyway, this little dog is about 4 months old now, and I go to hug him, and he moans, oh, just like my dad. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And I look at him, I'm like, okay, this is wild. And then he looks at me like smirks, and I'm like, okay, this is funny. So a little bit of time goes by, and he becomes more and more like my dad. My dad thought, if you can't shake hands and look in the eye, then you are not a good person. Buster would sit down, shake hands, look in your eye, and wink one eye. And my dad was an eye winker. So then it just started going and going. So to make a long story short, my dad 1,000% came back through the dog, because the dog was so handsome and big like my dad, bigger Bichon than normal, and had swag and poise and handsome and this like nod and wink. And so my family and friends growing up that knew my dad could see in the dog the similarities. So fast forward about, I don't know, a short time, my uncle passes away, and my cousin's like, I think I'm going to have a crown royal. Do you want one? I'm like, okay. And I know that that's like a genetic drink on both sides of our family. That was my grandpa's drink, Crown on the Rocks. And when my dad had a cocktail, that was his drink. And my dad was like super host, had the full bar, the whole whack. He was just really great host. So anyway, we have a cocktail in my uncle's home. And I think, I wonder if I have a bottle of my dad's Crown at my house. So I look, and I had a lot of parties at my house. We had a bar. We had a lot of parties, poured a lot of brown stuff. So I look in the bar, and sure enough, there's an old bottle of Crown way back in my bar. And I think, wow, it's like 30 years old. I'm going to try this. So I take the bottle out. The dog, Buster, is literally sitting on the couch about 25 feet away. And there was lots of drinks poured at this bar, but not Crown. I take the bottle out. The dog freaks out, flies off the couch, starts whining and begging and wrenching and looking at me and looking at the glass and looking at me and looking at the bottle. And I'm like, this is insane. Do you want this? And he's licking his chops and has to have the Crown Royal. So I pour, and I hadn't poured any in my house since I just hadn't. It's like an old bottle. So I put the ice in the glass and swish it around. You know how you're supposed to do with Crown. Dog is going absolutely bonkers. So I give him I bring it down, and he just laps it. Just the burn, absolutely loved it. If I poured Crown for anyone in the house, the dog went absolutely crazy. So it was pretty wild. That was another huge validation. Fast forward a few more years regarding the dog. I mean, it was every day. He was totally my dad. I didn't think I'd be able to lose him. Okay, thanks. We got 10 more minutes. I didn't think, God forbid, if I lose this dog, how am I going to survive? Anyway, fast forward, my daughter goes to college. It's her first year. It's first semester break, and it's winter. She wants to have a little kickback party at my house. I'm like, sure. She brings some friends over. The dog, just like my dad, wanted to be with the kids, in the know, what's happening, what's going on, but not too in your face. And so the dog, Buster, is sitting around the fire pit with my daughter's friends, and I hear her in the house going, Buster, get out of the chair. And he had a growl and no bite, just like my father. And so I'm like, oh my God, she's telling him to get down. He won't get down. So I have to go outside. I'm like, Buster, get your ass out of the chair. And he's like, growls. And so I go out there, and I go, get down right now. And he's like, I don't want to go in the house. I want to be with the kids. So her friend, who knows nothing about nothing regarding my family and the dog, says, you guys keep calling this dog Buster, but his name should be Harold. And that was my father's name. And we're like, what? She goes, I don't know. He just looks like a Harold to me. So my point, it's so mind blowing. And I have a whole chapter on how my dad 1,000,000% came back as the dog. And if you've heard the story before, it's just classic because souls do divide. My dad was my unconditional love that came back through the dog. And when this girl, my daughter's friend, said this dog should be named Harold, we just were like, how could she even know that? How could she even know that? So that's kind of just a few of the wild stories. Anybody have a question or a comment? Thank you so much for being here. Loving this Facebook user. Janice, thank you for joining me. Chelsea, animals are the best. Animals give us so much love. They're so intuitive as well. They are so intuitive and so kind. They know when we need love. They know when we need support. They're just absolutely amazing. Let me see if there's anything else I need to. Any questions for me? And my producer's going to pick a random person for the giveaway. I want to just say up to date. I know, love. Yeah, I can pull a card. Let me pull a card for all of us. That's a great idea. Yes. Okay. So loved ones always visit in dreams, and when you think it's a dream, it's really an encounter. That's a great question, Chelsea, and I'm going to tell you why. Dreams tend to be a little bit foggy, a little bit hazy, and some are definitely clear vision. But when you have a dream about your loved one, it's really an encounter. Okay. It's an experience, and that's their way of connecting to you. So that when you're in a dream state, your consciousness is much more loose and available to receive. And your energy is high, and theirs drops to meet yours. And that's how they communicate. Many times in dreams. And that's how it happened for me many times in dreams. Before I started hearing, like when my rabbi died, my rabbi I knew for 50 years, he died. I wanted to speak at one of his minions, and it didn't happen. And he died unexpectedly. And he came to me in a dream at 222 about 6 weeks before my nephew's bar mitzvah, and told me that he didn't want to leave. He was the founder of the synagogue, that he didn't want to leave the temple. He'd rather have died than turn over his office keys. And then I had messages for the assistant rabbi. I made an appointment with her and told her what I saw, what he told me, and all of it was true. So, I mean, yeah, they definitely come through dreams. Who's the winner? Is there a winner? Congrats, Chelsea. I don't know if there's a winner. Love the Buster story. Okay, let's pull a card. Chelsea. Okay. Perfect. Great, Chelsea. Love it. Okay, so what are oracle cards? First of all, a little bit about me, back to my studies, along with being a mom and a friend and, forever a daughter, of course. Even though my parents are no longer on the planet, they're always divinely guiding me. My mom helps me in my design world all the time, and in a lot of other ways too. But I've studied with oracle cards with Colette Byron Reed for about 5 years. And what are oracle cards? I use oracle cards. They're a divination system that taps into the dominant energy in the group. Okay. I have a bunch of different decks by Colette Byron Reed, and they tap into the dominant energy of what's going on. So we're just coming out. We're going to also talk about full moons, new moons when it's time. I only have an hour show, and maybe I'll have to change the time slot and make it 2 hours or an hour and a half. I don't know. But I'm just so grateful that you're all here with me tonight. So I'm going to pull an oracle card for all of us in this group. I don't know how many is here, but whoever's here, we're going to get a message for all of us for our highest good. So the oracle is a divination system that they don't lie. They give you divinely guided messages, and they tap into what's going on in our dominant energy. Okay, so I'm using the wisdom of the oracle, and I'm going to pull a card for all of us. What do we need to know for our highest good? We're coming out of this full moon in Leo energy, which is about really self-love and just coming from your heart. So yay, I'm so glad, Chelsea. That's awesome. And so what do we need to know for our highest good? What do we need to know for our highest good right now about self-love and moving forward is what I think, because we need to really get into our heart center and do self-care. And that means stop talking negatively to yourself. That means when you walk by the mirror, wink one eye and say, hey, beautiful, even if you feel like crap, do it anyway. So what do we need to know for our highest good? Our highest good, what do we need to know? We need to be flexible. Oh my gosh. We need to be flexible. Card number 19. That's true. And I will read the meaning. We need to be flexible because, branches in a tree in a storm will give. We need to be able to bend and be pliable. And it's about teachability, open-mindedness, adaptability without compromising what's most important. A tree's roots are solidly planted in the ground, and its branches can bend in a hurricane, whereas a rigid structure like a building would come crashing down. Consider how trees remain supple and secure when everything around it may be falling apart and in shambles. This is how you need to be in the now, willing to learn new things, teachable, malleable, yet firmly grounded in who you are. Common sense is important, but so is an open mind. Stay curious, stay open, stay aware. At this time, others will be more flexible with you too. Does that resonate? I'm going to read the prosperity piece, and then we have to wrap it up soon. Already, I can't believe it. I know, fluidity, exactly. On the prosperity piece, even when you have a clear vision of how you're going to manifest something, what will it look like? Who will you share it with? And when will it be available to you? You will still need to relax and open up to other possibilities. Spirit may have a much better plan for you. It could be a job you hadn't even thought of, or a person you haven't met yet, and opportunities that come your way that you might have thought weren't available. Be flexible and remind yourself, this or something better manifests for me now. Then be willing to bend a little, enjoy the miraculous results. How about that? Be flexible. Like I'll be going deep for sure, but with all these outer conditions that are going on in the world, when we have our center, that's why I have to meditate literally every day. When we go in our center and we climb in our center and we connect to ourselves, what goes on in the world, we are less affected by. It doesn't mean we bypass what's going on in the world, what's going on outside. It means that it won't affect our sensitive souls as much. When you're empathic like I am, and I'm sure like most of you are, otherwise you probably wouldn't be here, it's really good to take that time to go inside and be flexible with yourself and others and be the observer of what's going on. And any other questions? Because we have to wrap up already. I can't believe it. And if you want a session, go to spiritualtalking.com. And if you're on TikTok, hi on TikTok. And go to spiritualtalking.com. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to meet Mo. I didn't get to read all her comments. Let me see. We have to wrap up. Chelsea, we'll be in touch. Mo, are you still here? It's so healing being with him. Oh, wow. Mo, I really want to talk to you sometime. Thank you so much, Tempo. Mo, I really would love to talk to you. I have a session with Jacqueline. I had to reschedule, but yeah. I think I've heard your name, but not consciously. Anybody else? Thank you so much, Selena. Thank you so much for joining me on my very first podcast of my own. I'm going to be a host on another one. If you want to learn more about me, on a really great podcast that I did called Evidence of the Afterlife. I think it's episode 39 with Maverick. I can't think of his last name. You can hear all these wild stories and then get back to me too. Thank you for all your love and support here. I'm so glad you came. I think I have to wrap it up. Do I have to wrap it up? Let's see, more comments. We go to my private. Yep, it's a wrap. I'm sending you so much love and light. Thank you so much for your support. Selena, thank you so much for being here, my friends and family. And until next time, which will be in a week. Bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.